Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into another fascinating psychological bias from Charlie Munger's Poor Charlie's Almanac, the inconsistency-avoidance tendency. This cognitive bias explains why humans instinctively resist change and why we tend to stick to old habits, beliefs, and ways of doing things, even when they no longer serve us well. It affects everything from investing and business decisions to personal growth and even politics. In this video, we'll explore why this bias exists, how it influences our behavior, and examine real-world examples of how it has led to both success and failure. Most importantly, we'll discuss how to overcome it so we can make better, more rational decisions. So if you want to improve your ability to adapt and make smarter choices, stick around until the end. What is the inconsistency avoidance tendency? According to Charlie Munger, humans have a deep psychological need for consistency. Once we commit to a belief, a habit, or a way of doing things, our brain works to avoid any inconsistencies that could make us question our choices. This makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. In ancient times, sticking with what worked could mean the difference between survival and extinction. If a certain hunting strategy or food source kept our ancestors alive, it was safer to keep doing the same thing rather than experiment with something uncertain. But in today's world, where change is constant, this tendency often holds us back. Instead of adapting to new information, we become stubbornly attached to old habits, ideas, and decisions, even when they are clearly outdated or incorrect. Munger explains this perfectly. The brain of man conserves programming space by being reluctant to change. One consequence is that a person who has already made a particular decision will tend to make all future decisions in conformity with the first one, even when the first one is demonstrably wrong. This bias is especially dangerous in investing, business, and personal development because it prevents us from correcting mistakes and improving our strategies. One of the biggest problems with this bias is that it creates mental rigidity. Once we adopt a particular view or strategy, we become blind to new evidence that contradicts it. This leads to clinging to bad investments even when the fundamentals have changed, sticking to outdated business models while competitors innovate, resisting new ideas and technologies because they challenge what we already know, refusing to admit when we're wrong because it feels uncomfortable. This bias operates on autopilot. Most people don't even realize they are falling into this trap. But once you start recognizing it, you can begin to overcome it and make smarter, more flexible decisions. One of the most common places where this bias appears is in investing. Investors often hold on to failing stocks because selling them would mean admitting they were wrong. Take Kodak, for example. Kodak was once the dominant player in the photography industry, but when digital photography emerged, its leadership refused to adapt. Even though Kodak invented the first digital camera, they clung to their film business because that was what had always worked. Instead of embracing change, Kodak tried to preserve the old way of doing things, ultimately leading to bankruptcy in 2012. Compare that to Netflix, which started as a DVD rental service. When streaming technology became viable, Netflix had a choice: stick to what worked or embrace change. Unlike Kodak, Netflix pivoted and became a global streaming giant, leaving companies like Blockbuster in the dust. This shows how companies that overcome the inconsistency avoidance tendency thrive, while those that resist change are left behind. Another area where this bias shows up is personal finance and spending habits. Many people grow up with a certain money mindset, often inherited from their parents. If someone grows up in a household where money is spent recklessly, they may struggle to break out of that pattern, even if they know they should be saving and investing. People also hold on to bad financial habits, like keeping money in a low-interest savings account instead of investing, simply because that's what they've always done. Breaking free from these ingrained habits requires conscious effort and a willingness to challenge old beliefs. In politics, this bias explains why people rarely change their views, even when presented with clear evidence that contradicts them. Studies show that when people are confronted with facts that challenge their beliefs, they often react by doubling down on their original stance rather than reconsidering it. This is why political debates rarely change anyone's mind. People identify with a particular ideology and refuse to acknowledge inconsistencies in their own views because it feels like an attack on their identity. Recognizing this bias can help us become more open-minded and willing to listen to opposing perspectives, leading to better decision-making in all areas of life. How to overcome the inconsistency avoidance tendency? Overcoming this bias requires conscious effort and self-awareness. Here are some key strategies. First, actively seek out disconfirming evidence. Make it a habit to look for information that challenges your current beliefs and assumptions. This helps prevent blindly sticking to old ideas that may no longer be accurate. Second, admit when you're wrong and correct course quickly. Many people stay in bad investments, bad jobs, or bad relationships because they don't want to admit they made a mistake. But holding on to a bad decision doesn't make it better. The sooner you acknowledge an error and pivot, the better off you'll be. Third, embrace change and uncertainty as part of growth. Instead of fearing change, train yourself to see it as an opportunity. The most successful people are those who adapt quickly and remain open to new possibilities. Fourth, use checklists to make decisions based on logic, not emotion. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger use checklists to avoid cognitive biases in investing. This method ensures that every decision is based on rational criteria rather than past commitments. Fifth, surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking. If everyone around you agrees with everything you say, you're probably not growing or learning. Seek out mentors, friends, and colleagues who are not afraid to question your views. The inconsistency-avoidance tendency is one of the most subtle but dangerous cognitive biases. It keeps us locked in outdated habits, bad investments, and rigid thinking. But once you start recognizing it and challenging it, you can make better decisions, adapt to change, and take advantage of new opportunities. Instead of resisting change, embrace it. Instead of doubling down on old mistakes, learn from them and move forward. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into cognitive biases, investing strategies, and decision-making insights from Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, and beyond. Thanks for watching.